in Stockholm right now, where where I work. Currently at a friend's office because I usually work from home, but this is the busy hour at home with kids and wife in a small apartment. So really really grateful for having to getting to borrow this place. So I thought I'd go through some of the basics of what I do and how I do it. I'm sure some of you, or at least you, James, have seen my website, so you're familiar with my work. This is basically I do art direction and graphic design and illustration, and to me, I mean, I feel most rooted in graphic design. That's where everything I do is like starts from there, and then whenever I'm telling other people what to do, I feel like I'm an art director, and when I'm told what to do by others, I'm usually an illustrator. And my background is really, starting as any other kid, starting with drawing and crafting things. And to me, when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 in the 80s, these kind of paintbrush, like spray airbrush things were really the thing, and I was so impressed by it. I thought they were making them with like crayons and stuff, so I was like desperately trying to make that. And some grown up told me that what you do is actually that's actually proper work, like being an illustrator, being someone who draw things for advertisements. That's something you could do. You don't have to stop drawing or do it in your spare time. Make it your work. So I've been kind of doing that ever since. I never stopped really. So I guess when in my teens, I went to this high school who had graphic design for a full day a week, and I started learning web design and stuff, because that was like in the middle of the IT era. And I got a job as a web designer when I was 19, and I worked there for 2 years. And then I went to design school in Stockholm for 2 years, and then I was employed by Acne in Stockholm, working at the advertising agency, basically, because Acne Studios, it's a huge brand today. It was a really small brand then, and it started off as an agency, and the fashion thing was basically something, a test, an experiment that went really well. So I was working there in-house for Acne Studios, and and for a lot of other brands as well. And then I was there for 5 years. And then some 10, 11, 12 years ago, I started working for myself, due to several reasons that I will get back to. So that's pretty much my journey in short. I still think this is a really, really, really cool picture. I would see that technique come back. That would be awesome. Things that have sort of shaped my business as a freelance independent creative is things I struggled with when working at an agency. One of those things were like making people understand, whether it was people at the agency or more often the client. And I experienced, and I know it's really different depending on which agency you work at, but my experience when I was this was a great place actually, because it was a really flat organization. So you as a junior, you really got to try all sorts of things and meet with clients and all, and you didn't just brew coffee from the start. Like you really made actual work from day one. But usually as a designer, you would be like the last guy on the ball. There would usually be a project manager meeting with the client, getting the brief. Then there would be some senior doing like art director, copywriter coming up with some sort of concept. And then they brought in the design team to sort of put some makeup on that. And that was always really frustrating, because I would have taken other decisions early on in the process to make work more fun and better. So that was something that I struggled with, and that I've made ways, I've sort of found a solution to that working for myself. And another part that I was struggling with were ethics, like being a part of a group, but still standing up for your own ethics, whether it's, what kind of people you want to work with or what kind of brands and markets you want to work with. And as a junior, you sort of, how should I put it? Like, to sort of earn the place, you need to sort of go along. So I did a lot of work early on that maybe I wouldn't have done today, like alcoholic soda pop advertising, or like stuff that, like political stuff that I actually said no to. And that was like a way that sort of was a game changer for me, because I started saying no to more and more stuff that were brought into the agency. Like I didn't want to work with tobacco. I didn't want to work with political campaigns. I didn't want to work with like beauty brands that were using, like, not animal testing, but I remember this brand that came to us and asked, they had made this moisturizing cream with some extract from the fin of some deep ocean fish, and I just thought it sounded horrendous. And so it's like more and more projects that I didn't want to be involved with, and I wanted to like follow my own ethics and work with people that I liked and so forth. And also like struggling with like social anxiety, and which I've had my struggles with. Being part of a group can sometimes be quite exhausting. So those problems have sort of like jumping off and launching my own practice have meant I have to deal with those things and try to see if I can find a solution that works really good for me. So, but with illustration, the process is quite straightforward. I basically, because the style is already set, because people like the way I draw stuff usually when they come to me. So there's usually a brief, and then I sketch it 2 rounds, and then we make final art, and then it's delivery. It's usually very problem free, so to speak. Whereas graphic design and art direction I found being more challenging, because, well, you have to come up with stuff and let's see if I can take this little thing away. Is this in a way for you too? Okay.
No, it's not in a way for us. We can literally just see your whole screen, but we can't see the meeting toolbars at the top.
Amazing. Okay, so these are for like a set of rules that I set up for myself just to function as creative and to do good work, basically. What I try to do is like I try to work with enthusiasts, people who have started. It's usually like small clients and medium clients. As a graphic designer, as an illustrator, I tend to work with really big commercial clients. But as a graphic designer, I tend to work with smaller projects, because I find that usually they're run by people who really love their product and what they're doing, as a part of sometimes working with marketing directors who are more interested in their own career than the product. So that is something. So I tend to work with small businesses. I work with like restaurants and fashion brands and whatnot. It's like and wine brands, and but people who really like what I do, but especially like they really like what they do. So they really inspire me just by doing the stuff they do. I also try to, as I was saying earlier, like this whole thing of trying to make people understand stuff. I try to not give presentations, but rather just have meetings really and talk about things. So I will meet with clients quite regularly and just show them stuff and let them show me stuff, and rather talk about the things rather than having, you know, these big reveals. So that's try to eliminate the idea of me being a consultant that is coming to give them a solution to a problem they might have, but rather trying to see if we can team up and do good things together. And also like trying to be the customer, see what we can add to the market we're working on, try to be intuitive early on, because I've been working for so many years that I can really sort of start trusting my intuition, but also because I can really trust the clients because they're usually really, really good at what they do. And so my process usually starts with them telling me a lot of things about what they do, and I collect visual stuff that I come to think of. And we'll meet and we'll look at all those things. And some of them will have very little to do with what they do, but it's a way for me, when they comment those things, it's a way for me to learn how they express themselves, how they put visuals into words, so that I know how to speak with them later on in the process. I get to learn all sorts of stuff, but you know, and their preferences. And over a few short meetings, we build this mood board together, and that is the idea. And when we agree on that, it's really, really easy for me to do mock-ups and finalize. So it's a way for me to try to avoid revealing ideas, but rather shaping them together so that there are no like big surprises. And then, you know, once it's done, see if we can improve it next time. And by doing that, things seem to like I get more work from just being open. Like we can always do things better the next time. This was the most we can do this time, but let's see what we can do next time. Influences is a tricky chapter because I think that sometimes when I've done interviews, people ask me for inspirations, and to me, the client is always the inspiration. If I don't get inspired in the first meeting with the client, then there's a problem from start, and I usually decline the project. So if I get approached by a client and I get like 10 ideas just from our first meetings, then inspiration is clearly there. But influences somehow, I mean, what I'm influenced by are the things that sort of like connects all the work together, like what makes my eye, so to speak. And I think that sometimes people talk about this clean Scandinavian aesthetic, which I kind of, I'm not that inspired or influenced by. I think I'm more influenced by like international minimalism and pop art, because I think those two styles, or like those two, what do you say, movements, they have something in common that is like this straightforwardness, like taking things down to a bare essence, but they have quite different expressions in the end. But from like some projects where I've gone too far towards what could be called minimalism, I would always feel like there's something missing, like there's some warmth and like a smile missing. And sometimes when I go too far towards pop art, it doesn't have that serenity or balance that I really need. So to me, I really try to marry those two. And this example with Bosa Farnell architect agency is a good example of that, like being totally utilitarian, modern, almost boring typographically, but then adding these flowers and stuff as sort of pop of color and sort of way of like connecting them to a certain artistic culture. Also, I'm really influenced by, I really like ready-mades and off-the-shelf stuff. So like in this, I'm always happy when I can use things that are already there, like this tube or like these envelopes or stuff that are already there. Both from like an environmental perspective, like there's so many things already out there that you can just pick and choose from. but also like I like the way they look. I'm really intrigued by the way Jasper Morrison collects these random objects that are beautiful, but seemingly without having this star designer behind them. They're just there and they're perfect. And this is another example. This is a restaurant I worked on, an identity for this like Japanese fusion restaurant. So on one end, it's super like almost Muji calm, super straight utilitarian, but on the other hand, their sign can be like a real pop of color and all about like neon and play. So those two are usually like two balancing balls, or how to say it. To me, this is Pet Shop Boys referencing Bruce Nauman or something, together with some Muji super dry Japanese stuff. And also like limitations, especially, well, not especially, but this is an example from my illustration portfolio, like limiting myself to anything really, like a palette of color, or like never drawing faces on characters is a limitation that makes me do things a certain way, which connects with Dieter Rahm's ethos of as little design as possible, or like Massimo Vignelli's idea of having a really tight toolbox, so like 5 different typefaces and I don't know, 3 colors and this and that many materials. And, so I guess those are like the stuff that influences my work most. Yeah, and there's a secret bonus at the end too, which is personal projects. And on one hand, it feels like all the projects I do are kind of personal, because I really invest myself in the projects I do, whether it's my own projects or client stuff. But these are 2 projects that I'd like to show that comes from just me, without no one asking me for it. So the first project is called Memento Mori Shop, which is an online shop I came up with some time ago. And it's basically an idea of making these super classic still life images that I really love, but trying to make them in my style and in a sort of contemporary style. So this is sort of like the end result. And the idea is that you enter the shop and there's a bunch of ready-made objects, like you would find like if you would buy just about anything, and you would buy only the things that you like, and then you put them in your cart and you send them, you place the order, and the order is basically a brief for me to put together something as a still life. So every still life is unique, but it's made of ready-made objects. So this is from one of the customers, sent me a picture of the print hanging in their kitchen. So that's one little nugget I'm working on. It's constantly there, so every now and then it pops in a little email with someone asking me for like a ham or buying a bottle and a butterfly. And this hasn't been released yet, but this is like straight from InDesign, more or less. When I quit the agency, people asked me what I was, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do a children's book. And then 10 years or so after, I finally get to make a children's book with my name on the cover. So it's released by Helium, who is a wonderful little French children's book publisher. So this is going to be in French. Hopefully we'll reach other markets eventually, but qui se cache là-dessous means basically what's that, or what hides underneath. So yeah, it works like this. You're grown-ups, so this is pretty easy for you, but if you see a 4-year-old looking at this, it's amazing to see how proud they are when they sort of outsmart the illustration of the book and as a whole. What's that? That was the cow. Obviously the pig, octopus, monkey. So that's due for launch in I think February next year. So I'm yeah, can't wait. That was it. Welcome back.